Rev up your engines!
Well, GM now is trying to push harder on people who are buying new cars and flipping them to make money. Supplies are tight. The dealers themselves, of course, are screwing people over and charging tens of thousands of dollars over invoice. And then some people, even though they pay that, then they'll sell it at an auction and get even more money. GM is saying, we're warning people that some warranties for popular models cannot be transferred to a new buyer if it was resold in the first year, saying, well, you buy a car, then your warranty won't be good to the next person if you sell it within a year. I mean, they're greedy, the dealers are greedy, and now they're trying to put something on top of the people who buy the car. Hey, last I checked, we lived in a capitalist society. You can buy and sell things anytime you want. The classic expression of that is when you ask somebody, he's got a bunch of cars or anything at his house, and you say, is that for sale? And the guy says, yeah, everything's for sale, baby. It's just a matter of price, right? Hey, supposedly we live in a capitalist society where that's supposed to be the case. But they're going to charge you too much for one of their vehicles, and they're saying, well, you can't sell it to somebody else or the warranty's invalid. What a bunch of hoo-ha. They're just grasping at straws. It's just ridiculous. Of course, Ford's having the same kind of problems. Their CEO, Jim Farley, said the other day that he claims 10% of their dealers are responsible for these super extra charges where they're charging 20, 30, 40, 50,000 more than the list just because there's a limited amount and there's a market, people buy it, and so they'll charge them whatever they can get away with. And Ford decided they're going to do a higher percentage of sales delivered to the people who originally ordered it. So Ford can't make fake names to order a vehicle and then flip it to sell it to a real customer later. Dealers are allowed a certain amount of cars depending on how many they sell. And if these guys make up things that, oh yeah, look, we got 50 of these sold already, send them to us. And then they're fake names, and then they just sell them at a higher price to somebody else. Ford's trying to stop that. I mean, can you imagine? Their own dealerships are pulling crooked stuff like that. I mean, it just shows that, a company like that, they're rotten to the core. They're all scrambling to make money. They don't care how they screw their customers over. And, of course, GM's having the same kind of problem. Ford seems to have a bigger problem, though. They seem to have more people complaining about the raised prices to the new ones. So GM's joining the fray, too, and they say these limited vehicles that they want to say you can't sell within the first year, you lose a warranty, include the Corvette Z06, the GMC Hummer EV, and the Cadillac Escalade 5. So, it's kind of hilarious that they're, high-end cars. All I have to say is, you sell somebody a vehicle, they should be able to do whatever the heck they want with it. And GM's just trying to get out, well, then we won't give you a warranty for it. I mean, I don't think this would even stand up in court. I really don't think it would stand up in court. I think it's kind of nonsense they're coming up with, and I certainly don't think it would stand up in court. Axle 2569 says, hey, I bought a used 2014 Camry LE 175,000 miles for $4,000. You think the car was worth it? The price of used cars is going up and up and up. If it's a good car, it's definitely worth it. I've seen Camrys with 400,000 miles. Of course, it depends who took care of it. Did they change the oil regularly? Does it not burn any oil? Does it look good? Is it cosmetically good? If so, yeah, you got a good deal. When somebody brings me a car like that and say they're saying, I'm thinking about buying this for $4,000, I go through it with my fancy computers and analyze everything. I can tell how efficient the engine and how the transmission work. It doesn't take me 15, 20 minutes with my fancy machines. Then I can say, oh, this thing is excellent. I'll say, it's borderline. I'll say, no, it's junky. The guy didn't take care of it. It's falling apart. Always have a mechanic like me check out a car before you buy it because you never know. Now, if you're a riverboat gambler and you don't want it to have a mechanic or you don't know one like me that's any good, well, at least road test the thing. And if it runs fine, doesn't overheat, AC works, oil doesn't drip under it when you park it and shut it off, yeah, it's a Camry. It'll probably be a pretty good vehicle. Jason Pearson says, I'm thinking about getting a 2022 Lexus NX 350 from a dealer. Should I go for normal combustion or hybrid? Which would last longer? The normal combustion ones generally last the longest. They're less complex. The hybrids are extremely complex. Now, you get better gas mileage with the hybrid. If you're the type of person that drives a car, you get happy to get 100, 150,000 miles without too many problems. You could buy either one. If you want to keep them forever, you want to get the normal combustion one. But on the other hand, if you're worried about the price of gasoline get higher and higher, you're buying a new one, you might get the hybrid one. Just realize, if you're like me, a cheapskate, you never buy a new Lexus in the first place. But if I did, I wouldn't get the hybrid because I want my cars to last 300, 400, 500,000 miles. And rarely do the hybrids last that long before big expenses come. Realize that. It says, I bought a new Corolla. Today's my first 5,000 mile service, and the dealer said they'll change the oil at 10. I know oil should be changed between 5 or 6. I want to keep it. What should I do? Yeah, change it every 5. Especially your first oil change. The engine's new. When I was a kid, we used to change it the first 500 miles. Now cars are better built, oils are better. I would change it every 5 if I were you, and use full synthetic oil. Use that new GF6 oil. And forget it. Just do it yourself. Or go to an oil change place you trust and have them do it. The dealer, hey, their warranty is up after a certain period of time. If it burns oil, they don't care. Toyota's had problems with some of their engines burning oil, and they just say, oh, it's out of warranty, too bad, we're not going to do anything about it. I just did a video with a guy from Canada who had a Toyota that burned oil when it had, 60,000 miles on it, but, it was over the 5-6 year warranty period, so we're not going to do anything, Toyota said. So, change the oil every 5,000 miles, and don't listen to their crap about 10. That's just nonsense. Let's face the facts. They want the car to wear out faster, so you'll buy another one when it's older. It's only to their advantage to have a vehicle that won't last 300, 400, 500,000 miles. It's a war between them wanting you to buy a new one and you wanting to keep your old one. The way you win that war is change your oil every 5,000 miles. Sun and Dryer says, I bought a Japanese import. I purchased an 05 Toyota Corolla Run X right-hand drive from Japan. With 55,000 kilometers, I paid $1,600 Canadian for it. What do you think? What should I do? Because it's a 17-year-old car. Some of the parts are different from the Japanese to the American cars. The only thing that you really, really have to worry about is take care of it. Change the oil and the filter regularly. Change the transmission fluid and filter like every 40, 50,000 miles. Maintain it. That stuff you can easily get. If the engine or tranny goes out, usually they have a different version than Japan. It's going to be a cow getting it fixed. It's only got 5,500 kilometers. Hardly any miles at all. It's hardly anything that's going to wear on the thing. So just take care of it, change the oil, and drive it. They're so well made. It's such low mileage. The problem I find is some guys will buy Japanese cars that have high mileage, and then when an engine or tranny breaks, they're screwed because the parts are different, and you can't get them a lot of times. Guys don't know how to work on a Japanese version of them, but in your case, it's such low mileage. They're well made, and since it's got such low mileage, it's an older car. You just want to check all the rubber stuff, belts, hoses, anything, brake system, and any of the rubber's cracked or starting to get dried out, replace the rubber now. Ulysses 011 says, my drive indicator's flashing on my Honda. I'm assuming that it means something's wrong with the transmission. I have a 2016 Honda Accord Sport with the CVT transmission. One day I drove on and the gear indicator was flashing, but no engine light came on. I put a Bosch code and it said there's no code. Then it stopped, has done it since. What do you think the problem is? It's a transmission problem because that's what happens, those flash. The problem is, it's a CVT transmission of a somewhat earlier design. The 2016 Honda Accords were their earlier CVTs and they did not perfect them then. Now, pray it doesn't happen again or doesn't happen often and just live with it, because from my experience of those things, when they do start to go out, they need internal work. Most of the stuff is internal. There's very little external about it. You got to take it off, take it apart to fix it. It can cost anywhere from $4,500 to $7,500 to either rebuild, repair, make them work correctly again. You have 105,000 miles. Unfortunately, many of those early CVTs would wear out at that time. Then you got to decide, geez, what am I going to do? Now, pray it runs okay. If it runs okay and it flashes once in a while, you can live with it, right? Eventually, if it flashes and stays flashing all the time, you will get a code. And then you take it to anybody like me or a Honda tranny expert, and they'll probably say, okay, from my experience of this code, it means that breaking down the CVT, we're going to have to rebuild the whole thing. And then you're going to say, forget it. I don't want to mess with that, because that's the years, that early ones, they weren't as good. The new Honda CVTs, I see no problems at all. But yours is 7 years old. It's one of the earlier ones, and they were not as well made as the newer ones. They were perfecting them. Now they're getting them pretty close to perfection with Honda, but the early ones weren't. Rashid B says, I got problems with F150 transmission. I live in Kuwait. I bought a used F150, 193,000 kilometers. When I cruise at 100 kilometers an hour, my transmission says 94C. When I drive 120, it goes up to 98C. But then if I go faster than 130 kilometers an hour, with the engine RPM just below 2,000, the temperature goes down slightly to 95. If I slow it down to 120, it goes up a couple of degrees. Yeah, I know it's hot here. I changed the filter and fluid. It didn't make any difference at all. Transmission cooler looks new. Is there a bigger cooler I can put in it? Or is it a programming issue? Your speeds have to do with the RPM of the engine, how fast the engine is running. You're in a hot area. You said it gets as high as 52 degrees Celsius. That is really hot. Believe you me, the vehicles are really not designed for operating in that kind of high temperature. And yeah, if I were you, I'd get a bigger cooler and put a bigger transmission cooler in. Most of it has to do with the RPMs your engine's going at. The higher the RPMs, it's going to make the radiator hotter, so that's going to make the cooler a little hotter too. So I'd say get the biggest cooler you can and maybe even put an electric fan in front of it to cool it even better. You're dealing with an extreme that we hardly ever get in the United States. You know? When you go desert stuff, you really have to start doing serious modifications to a vehicle that a normal vehicle like here in the United States wouldn't even need. I would go with a bigger cooler. I'd try to put a fan on it too, see if that helps out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.